In this training video, we're going to look at how to process a vehicle inspection once the technician has completed one. So from the Service Advisor Role Center, you can see that under Vehicle Inspections, I have a new tile, which is VI awaiting confirmation. So from within this tile, we can see that we have one vehicle inspection. So I'm going to go ahead and open this vehicle inspection. And here you're presented with the color codes and the descriptions that the technician has left on the vehicle inspection. So we can see that this requires a brake fluid change. The front brake pads are low. It requires an offside rear tire, and it requires wheel alignment. So from this stage, at the moment, it's just a vehicle inspection, and I can clearly see that I need to create an estimate from this inspection. So to do this, at the top of the screen under Process, you have a button called Confirm. So I want you to press Confirm, and it's going to ask me if I want to create a vehicle inspection estimate. So at this point in time we do, because we know that the technician's identified some work. If the inspection was clean and it doesn't require any work from the service advisor, if I press no at this point, it's just going to file the inspection away and just store it against the vehicle and then not create an estimate. But in this case, we want to create an estimate, so press yes. It's then giving me some information about the customer because there are customer comments. It's also warning me about previous documents associated with this vehicle. So if the vehicle's ever received a previous estimate or a vehicle inspection estimate, then you're going to learn about it in this information here. So I press OK, and it's going to open a vehicle inspection estimate. So vehicle inspection estimate is the vehicle inspection that's now embedded into what looks like an estimate. I have the comment function here if I want to. I can see the information the technician's written here, and then at the bottom of the document I have the ability to actually build up an estimate. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a brake fluid change and front brake pads. So scroll back down to the lines. I'm going to select labour. I'm going to add a labour line. I'm going to say a brake fluid change. We're going to charge 0.5 for the brake fluid change. What we're also going to do is add the repair times for the brake pads and the items for the brake pads. So again, select labour, LAB, and say replace front brake pads, and we're going to charge 0.9. And on the line below the brake pads, we're going to put the items. So again, I'm using MISC because I don't know what the part number is, which is absolutely fine. So I'll select brake pads. The brake pads cost us 15. We're going to sell them out at 25. We're going to add some new lines. Let me just delete this line. Okay, so what we have now is we've got to replace the tire. So we can see the size is 205 55 16. So we're going to go ahead and add another item. And we'll say it's a 205 55 R16 tire. Costs us 35. We're going to sell it for 55. And then finally, we're going to add the wheel alignment as well. So back down to labour, and we're going to add the alignment. There's a specific labour line for alignment, so we'll just add that to the document. Okay, so we have the brake fluid change priced up, the brake pads, the tyre, and the wheel alignment. So a couple of other features from a vehicle inspection estimate is you do have the ability to look up service packages and repair times if you want to. Now, in a similar scenario to the estimate that we've just done, we now can't get hold of the customer. So I'm going to scroll back to the top of the document. I'm going to change the status to awaiting authorization. Now you have more stages to a vehicle inspection estimate. You can have awaiting parts, advisor, authorization, or complete. So if you have different roles for different people within your business, you can utilize these statuses here. In this case, we're going to go straight to awaiting authorization. So I'm going to go back to the home page and just show you how that's had an effect. So we can see the inspection tile's gone back to green, but now we have a vehicle inspection estimate tile that is awaiting authorization. Now before I change that status, it would have been sat in here awaiting action, but because we filled it in immediately, and change the status to waiting authorization, it went straight to this tile. So again, in this example, the customer has called us back. and the customer's authorized some of the work. So I'll just show you how to handle this. If we scroll down to the lines of the document again, you can see that we actually have a column here called customer authorized, and next to it we have a price calculator. So if you take note of this value down here, if the customer wants to know how much a certain job is, we can just tick these boxes here, and you can see that this price is changing dynamically at the bottom here. But in this case, the customer is going to authorize the brake fluid change and the brake pads, but they're not going to authorize the tire and alignment. So what I'm actually going to do is set a reminder date for the tires and alignment for next month. So I'll say that we're going to remind them on the 31st of March about the tire, and again about the alignment. So that's a reminder set for these two. So this authorized work, these 3 lines that have been authorized, I now want to get them over to the job sheet, which is the booking we created earlier. So to do that, once these 3 lines are ticked here, I go to Process, Copy Authorized Lines to Job Sheet. And it's going to find any job sheets that have the vehicle details on. And in this case, it's the job that the technician is still working on. They've just completed the inspection. So if I select this job, what it's just done, it's just copied these 3 lines to this job sheet. So we can now see on this vehicle inspection estimate, these 3 lines have been authorized and copied over, and these 2 lines have been deferred, and a reminder date's been set. So I'm going to scroll back to the top of the document, and I'm going to change the status to complete. And if I go back to the home page, what you can see here is that the tiles have gone back to green because the inspection was first of all confirmed and that was dealt with. The estimate was then priced up and sent to awaiting authorization, and then the customers contacted us, and we've actually set the authorized lines back to the job sheet, and we've set the deferral dates. So if we go ahead and have a look at the job sheet now, we can see that the brake pads and the brake fluid change have been copied over to the job sheet. So from this point onwards, I would go ahead and create the purchase order for the brake pads. So to do this, I click here, I select the vendor, I go to Parts, Create Purchase Order. And now the purchase order has now been raised for the brake pads, and then I wait for the purchase invoice to turn up and then process the invoice. So that is how you deal with a vehicle inspection estimate.